Her life seemed like the plot of a Hollywood drama. A meteoric rise, passionate romances, dazzling beauty, enigmatic tragedies. Jean Harlow, the legendary platinum blonde of Hollywood's golden age, captivated the hearts of millions. Yet behind her radiant image lay dark secrets. In 1937, the world was shocked by her sudden death, at the young age of just 26. The circumstances of her passing remained shrouded in mystery, and her mother's strange statements only fueled the rumors. This is the story of the star who died too young and too alone. On March 3, 1911, Harleen Harlow Carpenter was born in Kansas City, Missouri. A middle-class family seemed like the perfect environment for a child to be born into. Seemed. On the surface, warmth, restrained optimism, but behind closed doors lay cracks that were only beginning to spread. Harleen was born into a world of hope, but as it would later turn out, her childhood was far from cloudless. Her father, Montclair Carpenter, a dentist with an excellent reputation, was not the epitome of a warm and caring parent. Cold, reserved, and seemingly always absorbed in his own thoughts, he kept his distance from the family. In contrast, her mother, Jean Bell, was the exact opposite. Ambitious and domineering, she dreamed of the stage, the spotlight, and standing ovations. But her aspirations remained unfulfilled. These unrealized desires she decided to channel into her daughter. The parents, so different, had too many unspoken words and too little genuine affection. Divorce was inevitable. When Harleen turned 11, her father left her life. It was a painful rupture. Cold though he was still her father, and he disappeared forever. Her mother, on the other hand, took control of the girl's future with an iron grip. Harleen stayed with her mother, and from that moment, her life began to unfold according to someone else's script. For Harleen, childhood became an arena for her mother's ambitions. Jean Bell's control was absolute. Private schools, frequent relocations, strict discipline, even the choice of friends and hobbies was dictated not by the girl herself, but by her mother. Obedient and outwardly compliant, Harleen harbored inner stubbornness and rebellion. She grew up dreaming of freedom, but those dreams were in vain. At the age of 14, her mother made a life-changing decision. They were moving to Hollywood. Harleen was too young to understand what that meant. The city of stars and glamour frightened her more than it inspired her. She wanted to be an ordinary girl, not a project designed to fulfill someone else's dreams. It's hard not to feel pity for this fragile girl, deprived of the right to choose. Every step she took, every word she spoke, everything was dictated by her mother, whose ambitions overshadowed everything genuine and alive within Harleen. At the age of 16, Jean made a decision she believed to be her salvation. Tired of her mother's constant control, she ran away from home and married Charles McGrew, a young heir to a wealthy family. This step was her first desperate protest against an imposed life, her attempt to find her own happiness. But a marriage born out of escape proved short-lived. Differences in character, constant pressure from their families, and perhaps her youthful naivety made living together impossible. 2 years later, the marriage ended. The divorce left Jean in a state of complete solitude, both emotionally and financially. Her world had crumbled, but it also became a moment of awakening. For the first time, she realized that she needed to start living her own life, rather than trying to please others. After the divorce, Jean was forced to return to her mother. Returning to a home ruled by strict control could have broken anyone, but this time fate took an unexpected turn. Through chance encounters with young actors and directors, Jean found herself in the heart of Hollywood. Her appearance immediately attracted attention. Dazzling platinum blonde hair, which became her signature look, and bold behavior that made her stand out from the crowd. In 1928, she appeared on screen for the first time, even if it was only in a minor role. It was her first small victory, the beginning of her journey in a world where beauty and charisma could open any door. Jean Harlow burst into Hollywood like a blazing comet, drawing every eye and stirring up a storm of emotions. Her breakthrough role in Hell's Angels in 1930 was a true sensation. Her performance teetering between boldness and passion, and her image as a femme fatale, captivated audiences while provoking outrage among critics. The press didn't hold back, accusing Jean of immorality. Paradoxically, this only fueled her popularity. Not all studios were eager to work with her. Many considered her too provocative for the screens of the time. But Jean seemed to understand intuitively that this very boldness would make her an icon. Every scandal, every daring choice of role only amplified her magnetism in the public eye. She shattered stereotypes, broke taboos, and became the symbol of a new woman. Fearless, confident, and unburdened by societal prejudices. The success of films like Platinum Blonde in 1931 and Red Dust in 1932 cemented her status as the sex symbol of the era. After signing a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer (MGM), Jean found herself at the center of Hollywood machine, where her talent and charisma reached new heights. Working with the best directors and actors, she didn't just play roles, she helped shape a new vision of women on screen. Vibrant, independent, and irresistibly alluring. But with this fame came realizations. Her beauty was not only her greatest weapon, but also a heavy burden. In the world of show business where appearance outweighed character, she quickly understood that everything came at a price. To remain on top, she had to be strong and avoid becoming a victim of others' manipulations. In her personal life, another battle was brewing, with her mother. Jean craved independence, but her mother, as always, tried to control every step, seeing her daughter's success as an extension of her own unfulfilled dreams. The tension between them grew, and year by year, Jean became increasingly aware that her true freedom lay beyond the confines of these family ties. Jean Harlow's rise to Hollywood legend status was marked by pivotal moments that shaped her image and solidified her position at the top of the industry. On the set of Hell's Angels, her career nearly faltered due to the technological revolution in cinema, the transition from silent films to sound. But this challenge became her springboard. Director Howard Hughes took a gamble by re-recording scenes with sound, confident that her voice would perfectly convey the emotional depth of the character. The risk paid off. Audiences were captivated not only by her looks, but also by her enchanting voice, which became her signature. The film Dinner at 8 in 1933 proved that Jean Harlow was far more than a stunning blonde. Her brilliant performance, infused with comedic elements, showcased her broad acting range. Critics acknowledged that she possessed not only beauty, but also rare talent. Her frequent collaborations with Clark Gable became another highlight of her career. Their on-screen chemistry won the hearts of audiences, making them one of Hollywood's most beloved pairs. Together, they embodied the spirit of the era, shining in films that became major hits. Jean Harlow forever changed the standards of beauty and glamour in the 1930s. Her platinum hair color became a cultural phenomenon. This dazzling whiteness was achieved through an aggressive mixture of chemicals that literally burned her hair. Each new layer of bleach enhanced her iconic look, but also caused health issues. Her image became iconic. Millions of women worldwide aspired to emulate her, dreaming of the same magnetic beauty. She set trends, and the fashion and beauty industries idolized her. But behind this glamorous facade lay disappointment. Jean often felt trapped by her own image. People saw her only as a beautiful doll, a symbol of luxury and glamour, overlooking who she truly was. Her inner struggles went unnoticed, and her desire to be recognized not just for her looks, but also for her talent, repeatedly clashed with indifference. The platinum blonde persona was both her blessing and her curse. It opened doors to Hollywood, but closed the path to a deeper understanding of her as a person. Despite her status, Jean Harlow was someone who genuinely craved meaningful connections. Her friendship with Clark Gable was one of those rare, sincere bonds that kept her grounded in the real world. Their warm relationship not only inspired their colleagues, but also supported her during difficult times. Clark understood Jean better than most, and their mutual support was quiet but profound. Working with director Victor Fleming helped her unlock her acting potential. He saw more than just a dazzling image. He recognized the depth of her personality, and this inspiration was reflected in her performances. However, most of her relationships in Hollywood were superficial. Smiles for the camera, hugs at premieres, jokes shared over tables in expensive restaurants. All of it masked a deep sense of loneliness. She was surrounded by crowds, yet genuine sincerity in those crowds was desperately scarce. Even at the peak of her fame, with her name on the lips of millions, Jean remained someone who longed for true intimacy. Her inner world was a mystery to most, which only heightened the contrast between her brilliant public persona and the person she truly was. Jean Harlow's personal life was a tumultuous, dramatic, and often as tragic as her roles on screen. Every love story she experienced, whether a fleeting affair or a serious relationship, became either a sensational scandal or a painful memory. In 1932, she married producer Paul Byrne. This union promised Jean the protection and stability she so desperately needed in her life. Paul, 22 years her senior, served as a sort of mentor to her. However, their marriage lasted only 2 months. Paul Byrne was found dead in their home, plunging Hollywood into yet another scandal. The official account claimed it was suicide, but rumors of murder, love triangles, and abuse quickly filled the pages of tabloids. Her husband's death was a devastating blow to Jean, surrounding her with an even thicker cloud of speculation and gossip. Later, in 1935, she began a romance with millionaire William Powell. The relationship lasted 2 years and seemed to offer Jean a fresh start. But despite his care for her, Powell refused to marry. For Jean, who yearned for a stable and lasting love, this was a profound disappointment. Her life seemed like an endless search for love, one that invariably ended in drama and loneliness. Each romance brought her not only fleeting happiness, but also another round of heartbreak and mistrust. Jean Harlow's life was never out of the public eye. Every step she took and every decision she made was discussed, criticized, and exaggerated in the press. Her personal life, filled with tumultuous romances and dramatic events, were a constant target for tabloids. One of the most notorious scandals involved leaked letters in which she discussed her intimate relationships. The press pounced on this, turning her private emotions into fuel for sensational headlines. She was accused of immoral behavior and condemned for her liberal attitude and extravagant lifestyle. Yet the more criticism she faced, the more her popularity grew. Society loved to hate Jean Harlow, but it couldn't stop being fascinated by her. Despite the scrutiny, Jean maintained her dignity and never allowed these scandals to destroy her public image. She was a fighter, standing tall even during her darkest moments. Yet behind this armor was a woman who simply wanted to be happy and loved. Her health was one of the greatest struggles of her life. For years, Jean concealed severe kidney issues that caused intense pain and exhaustion. She continued to work relentlessly, unwilling to disappoint the studio or her fans. Her professionalism bordered on self-sacrifice as she gave her all on set despite her physical deterioration. Her relationship with her mother, Jean Bell, added even more strain. The maternal control that began in her childhood persisted even at the height of her career. Jean Bell managed her finances, controlled her social connections, and even interfered in her personal life. Every success Jean achieved seemed to become another victory for her mother, leaving little room for her own independence. These hidden tensions, though not visible to the public, were deeply painful for Jean. In 1934, her father, with whom she had never been close, passed away. Although this loss didn't appear outwardly tragic for Jean, it deepened her sense of loneliness. Her struggles with self-esteem also remained in the shadows. Despite the dazzling persona of the platinum blonde, was an insecure woman wrestling with inner demons. The image crafted by Hollywood demanded perfection, but Jean increasingly felt she couldn't live up to those expectations. By the mid-1930s, Jean Harlow's life had turned into a battlefield. Internal and external conflicts drained her strength, making each new day a challenge. After the death of her second husband, Paul Byrne, scandals erupted. Rumors about his suicide surfaced alongside legal disputes over his estate. MGM Studios attempted to protect Jean's reputation by suppressing unsavory details, but the legal turmoil and public scrutiny became a torment for her. On set, things were no easier. MGM demanded that Jean work relentlessly, even as her health sharply declined. To producers, she was not a person, but a lucrative brand that couldn't be taken offline. This constant pressure created another source of conflict, depriving her of the chance to rest and recover. Her body, worn out by an intense schedule, began to fail. Kidney failure, exacerbated by years of overwork and stress, increasingly made itself known. Jean endured constant pain but hid it to avoid disappointing her fans. The platinum blonde image demanded perfection, and she even went to great lengths to ensure that no one noticed her suffering. Her professional life, despite its glamour and acclaim, brought her to diminishing joy. Jean felt increasingly isolated, even in Hollywood, surrounded by colleagues and admirers. Behind the glittering facade of her life, there lay a deep sense of loneliness and misunderstanding that grew stronger with each passing year. Despite her physical and emotional exhaustion, Jean Harlow refused to give up. She made desperate attempts to maintain her career and regain control of her life, even as her strength waned. The filming of Saratoga in 1937 became her final project. Even in critical condition, Jean continued working, holding on to professional commitments, but her illness ultimately overcame her. The studio completed the film using a stand-in, a decision that deeply affected her fans and colleagues alike. Jean sought medical help to recover her health. However, her kidney failure was already too advanced. While she hid her suffering from the public, she clung to the hope of recovery. Yet every step she took was a struggle against the unrelenting reality. Her internal rebellion grew stronger. Jean longed to free herself from the control of her mother in the studio, to carve out a small space for herself. However, her physical and emotional state made it impossible for her to fully realize this act of defiance. Despite her star status, Jean Harlow found herself in a precarious financial position. Her mother, Jean Bell, managed her finances irresponsibly, prioritizing her own needs over her daughter's future. As a result, Jean had no personal savings despite the staggering sum she earned for her work. During the filming of Saratoga, Jean's colleagues noticed that something was seriously wrong. She appeared weak, frequently complained of pain, and her condition rapidly worsened. When Jean's health reached a critical point, she was rushed to the hospital. By then, however, it was too late for doctors to intervene. Her kidney failure, exacerbated by years of grueling work and stress, had progressed beyond treatment. Her mother, Jean Bell, had long refused to acknowledge the severity of her condition and delayed calling for medical help. This hesitation proved fatal. Jean Harlow passed away on June 7, 1937, at just 26 years old. Her death shocked Hollywood and became one of the most talked about events of the time. However, the circumstances surrounding her passing only raised more questions. After her daughter's death, Jean Bell made a statement claiming that everything was under control, despite the clear signs of her daughter's declining health. Her strange behavior, including the delay in seeking medical assistance and her reluctance to admit the seriousness of Jean's condition, added a layer of drama to an already tragic event. Years later, it was revealed that Jean had been suffering from undiagnosed kidney failure. Her exhausting lifestyle, strict diets, and relentless stress had worsened her condition, and the delay in medical care became a fatal mistake. Jean Harlow's death left many mysteries, but one truth was undeniable. Behind the dazzling image of the platinum blonde was a fragile woman who had to fight against the unforgiving world of show business until her very last breath.